Hello.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. We can't see you yet. Why can't I see you?
I have videos on. I can see me. Huh. That's weird. I can see me. It asked me to turn on my video.
See you.
Well, sometimes you can't see yourself. I can see
maybe
myself.
it's because I started sharing the screen, and of course now I can't find where I had because I was ready to do the film. Oh, here we go. Maybe it's because I have the film on, like I'm about to share the screen that I can't see you yet. Hopefully that's what my technical difficulty is. And if not, we'll figure it out.
Great.
Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start the session.
Wait, should I go out and come back in? Would that be helpful?
No, you can watch it with us.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
How many people are in there?
Let me put my glasses on. 1, 2, 3, 4. About 10 or 11.
Okay, great.
Yeah. They're all either classroom teachers or museum educators or Holocaust Center directors. And we have one Holocaust survivor.
Amazing.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and start the thing.
Okay.
Okay, everybody, thank you. Welcome back from lunch. We're going to go ahead and start our short documentary, The Tribe. And then we will have Tiffany Shlain join us for a conversation about the film and Q&A. She is here with us. Tiffany, say hi.
Hello.
Okay, okay, we need to fix that volume. Let's see.
Hello.
Thank God I had you say hello. Thank God I had you say hello.
Can you hear me better now?
I can hear you fine, but I don't know about anybody else. Laura, I don't know why I can hear on the thing, but we're not hearing there.
Vanessa Hillary, long-lost daughter of Abraham and Sarah, the sexy oy veying, matzah eating, chutzpah having, non-cheating, non-conspiracized, always questioning, hip-hop listening, tour scroll leading.
I know, right?
Trying to make the move louder.
Yeah.
Speakers at the TV.
Yes. We're trying to make
I'll show you.
if it's connected to a TV to make it on the louder on the TV.
Long-lost daughter.
By HDMI, yeah.
Yeah, so you do this thing
Okay.
here.
Okay.
So which speakers is it? Let's try this one. Can you talk again?
Hello.
You're amazing. I can hug. Okay, so we went away.
You're gonna watch it. I'm not gonna be able to see you playing it, right?
Correct. We're
Okay.
I mean, no, you're on my Zoom. I'm sharing my Zoom screen. Can you see the little Barbie head?
No.
You can't. Interesting, because I am sharing the screen with the Zoom. So
It's okay. Oh, now I see it.
Oh, you do see it. Okay. All right.
Now
Awesome.
it came out.
Okay. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and watch The Tribe. I absolutely love The Tribe. I've been
Thank
using it
you.
in my classroom for I don't know how long has the movie been out.
18 years. with the whole wave of new interest since the Barbie movie came out.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been out for 18 years. I've been teaching for 20, so I've probably used it all 18 years in my classroom. I admitted to probably stealing it off the internet in the beginning. It's really awesome because it's short, right? Like 15 minutes. It gives you so much time to be able to show it and then still have ample time for Q&A or activity or whatever afterwards in your 45-minute class. And it's a really great, little pop culture, tongue-in-cheek look at Jewish culture, Jewish identity via Barbie. Okay, which of course, now that the Barbie movie came out, it's very apropos, but kids relate to it really quick because it's Barbie, So, all right, so we're gonna go ahead and watch it, and then we'll talk to Tiffany. Here we go. Oh, and if you are, other than Tiffany, if you are joining us virtually, please make sure that your microphone is muted so that we only hear the film. Thank you.
Let's see.
You want to make that full screen.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing sound.
You're not?
No. Oh, start it over and just turn it way up, I think.
Okay.
You got the director giving you audio notes.
Is it the TV that has to get brought up? Unshare it and share it again. I am so not the techie person. I'm telling you, with life without, there's Tiffany, life without the 14-year-old AV kid to come into class and do it for you really sucks. I don't know. Okay, let's see. Is it an advanced, is it my advanced sharing option?
Are you trying to, what are you trying to figure out? Because I know Zoom really well.
To be able to share it with the sound.
Yes, it is when you, okay, unshare, and then when you share,
Yeah.
it's going to say, it's a small box. It's so silly that it's that small, share sound, and you click that box and optimize.
Ah,
video.
I see it. Okay. Woohoo. See, you learn something new every day. Yeah. That part I know how to do because I've shared screens with students before that I went, oops. So I learned that. Okay, so here we go.
Over 6 billion people live on the planet Earth. Thinking of them as a tribe of 100 people, there would be 60 Asians, 14 North and South Americans, 13 Africans, and 12 Europeans. 30 tribe members would be Christian, 18 would be Muslims, 13 Hindus, 6 Buddhists, and 33 would be other faiths, including, of the 100 tribe members, 1/4 of one would be Jewish. Within this circle, there was a woman named Ruth who created the Barbie doll. A Jewish woman created Barbie. Maybe Barbie can explain something about how this generation responds to being Jewish today. Since the old days, Jews refer to themselves as members of the tribe. But what does it mean to be a member of a tribe in the 21st century? A tribe is a group of people with something in common. For example, a tribe of hunters, a tribe of gatherers. Tribes can have other things in common, like interests or family. A tribe may have within it a smaller group or subset called sub-tribes. For example, the American tribe includes the sub-tribe of Democrats and the sub-tribe of Republicans, as well as many other sub-tribes. Although sub-tribes may disagree, they remain members of the larger tribe. Within the tribe of girls, there's the sub-tribe who love horses, and the sub-tribe who love Barbie dolls. Even within the tribe of boys, there's a sub-tribe who loves Barbie dolls. There's also a large sub-tribe that doesn't love Barbie dolls. But all sub-tribes can agree, Barbie doesn't look Jewish. Barbie's creator was named Ruth Handler. Barbie's full name is Barbara Millicent Roberts. Not such a Jewish name. Throughout her doll life, Barbie's had hundreds of identities. She's been astronaut Barbie, flight attendant Barbie, presidential candidate Barbie, and wedding Barbie who wears a diamond ring. Diamonds are formed when carbon is subjected to intense pressure over long periods of time. They're also a girl's best friend. Diamonds are often exchanged as part of Western marriage rituals. All tribes have marriage rituals. In the Jewish marriage ritual, the groom breaks a glass. This is symbolic of the fragility of life and in remembrance of the past. The American Jewish tribe has many sub-tribes. They're often arranged in terms of how observant they are: Orthodox, conservative, reform, renewal, unorthodox Orthodox, atheist, and many other sub-tribes. Ultra-Orthodox, Modern Orthodox, Hasidic, Reconstructionist, the Super Jew, the Kabbalahist, the Catholic who's into Kabbalah, the Jubu, the Julu, and the Hindu. Outside of religion, there are many cultural distinctions between Jews. For example, in New York, everyone seems Jewish. While in California, no one does. All American Jews share some things in common, like culture, heroes, and stereotypes. Too pushy, too greedy, too materialistic, too Jewish American princessy. In America, we don't have princesses. We have celebrities. The glorification of celebrities creates a culture of insiders and outsiders. Throughout history, the Jewish tribe has been treated as outsiders. As a result, Jews feel a special empathy with fellow outsiders. Maybe this also explains why they invented a bread with only an outside. Although Jews are often outsiders, when they meet other Jews, they feel like insiders. One might say the essential Jewish perspective is standing outside and looking in. America loves stories of outsiders becoming insiders, insiders becoming outsiders, and quintessential insiders like Barbie. Barbie is viewed as both an icon and as a false idol. There's an old story about worshiping idols. It starts with an idol worshiper named Terah. He had a son named Abraham. One day, Abraham heard a voice that said, "If you believe only in me, I will make the Jews into a great nation and give them a homeland flowing with milk and honey. You just have to do one tiny little thing for me." Abraham married Sarah, and they had a grandson named Jacob. Jacob had a dream of a ladder with angels climbing to heaven. Later, Jacob wrestled with an angel who gave him the new name Israel, which means to wrestle or to struggle. Jacob fathered a daughter and 12 sons that became the 12 tribes of Israel. Later, after Moses led them out of Egypt, the Jews got impatient and started worshiping an idol. Moses lost his temper. They weren't supposed to worship idols. However, going to sunny places to worship idols is a hard habit to break. Idolizing Barbie began in 1959. Ruth Handler named the Barbie doll after her daughter. She also named Barbie's boyfriend after her own son, Ken. The Barbie doll was hugely successful. Ruth then discovered she had breast cancer and left Mattel, the toy company she co-founded. Surviving cancer, she then went on to found a prosthetic breast company, thus making 2 fortunes from plastic boobs. Barbie's anatomy is highly exaggerated. If a real woman had Barbie's dimensions, she couldn't stand up. Walking upright on 2 legs is a skill that primates acquired in what the archaeologists call the Pleistocene era. The first records of Jews were found in Egypt in 1300 BCE. Some archaeologists believe ancient Egyptians called Jews Habiru, which means strangers. Wherever Jews went, they alternated between prosperity and persecution. They weren't allowed to own land and were often uprooted, so it was difficult to carry material possessions. They developed portable identities and rituals. They were forced to choose professions they could take with them, like money lending and stone cutting. When Jews had to leave, diamonds were often essential to survive. They hid them in their clothes and in their teeth. Because Jews were strangers, outsiders, and mobile, they were often blamed and scapegoated. The idea that these outsiders might get inside often led to false accusations, persecutions, and murder, forcing them to disperse again. This dispersion is called the diaspora. Without a homeland, the Jewish tribe was on the margins for thousands of years. Since the Holocaust, Jews have promised each other, never again. In 1948, a Jewish state was recognized by the United Nations. Its founders named it Israel, to wrestle or to struggle. What all Jews have in common is persistence, thousands of years of withstanding pressure and surviving against the odds. At the core of all tribes is the instinct to survive. Fight. Flight. Blend in, just like Barbie. When Jews first arrived in America, they also blended in. They changed their names and sometimes their appearances. Ruth Handler's father fled persecution in Poland and came to America in 1907. Ruth Handler modeled the first Barbie doll after the German Lily doll, a sexy toy for men that became popular after World War II. Ruth brought this Aryan ideal of beauty to America, changed her name, and achieved the American dream. Maybe Ruth instinctively knew that Barbie would not only survive, but prosper. And prosper she did. Over 1 billion Barbie dolls have been sold. That works out to around 77 Barbie dolls for every Jewish person. And today there's a sub-tribe of American Jews who grew up with Barbie in an assimilated world. But things have changed. The idea of assimilation is being challenged. American Jews live in a multicultural world where cultures now circulate and intermix freely. And this new freedom allows them to redefine and reclaim their connection to tradition. These Jews like to remix music, cultures, and codes. Their type of Judaism is more of a roll your own. Some in this generation are religious, but many are not. While they don't belong to a temple, they, like other tribes, may connect through culture or family or food or humor or arguing or just plain guilt. Their parents may have outsourced their Jewish education, so these Jews went to Hebrew school, reluctantly. But many got their Jewish education from Hollywood. This generation wants fewer sermons and more conversations. They do believe in healing the earth, but when they get a sermon on Tikkun Olam, they may think kumbaya. They may define kosher differently. Their version of the Talmud is the internet. These Jews may know less about Kabbalah than they do about yoga. Sometimes they marry outside their tribe. They're pro-choice, as in they choose to tell someone if they're Jewish. They rarely experience anti-Semitism directly, and when they do, they don't always speak up. These Jews may not be sure how they feel about Israel. To their parents, Israel was clearly heroic. For today's young Jews, things may look less clear. When speaking to those who aren't Jewish, they may defend it, but internally, they may be unsure. They can believe in Israel and not agree with all of its politics, just as they can believe in America without agreeing with all its politics. Among their Jewish friends, they don't really talk about it. They are part of a whole generation with portable identities and professions, and they have many names for themselves. A cultural Jew. There's the culinary Jew. Some Jews say,
I'm an agnostic.
or,
I'm an American.
or,
I'm Jewish. Jewish, yeah.
or,
I'm a feminist.
or,
A Jewess.
or,
I'm unaffiliated.
or, I'm a bad Jew, or,
I'm a bad Jew.
some who, rather than saying that they're a Jew, they might prefer to say they're Jew-ish. Before answering, they may ask,
Who wants to know? You Jewish?
and for both outsiders and insiders, Jewish identity can be perplexing.
You're Jewish? Wow. You don't look Jewish. You don't act Jewish. And he says it in this tone that sounds like he's complimenting me. And I say nothing. I say nothing when which combined with a flirty smile translates to thank you. I say nothing because I'm drunk on denial coladas. I say nothing because I got a contact high of someone's anti-Semitic crack pipe. I say nothing because somewhere along my life's graph, I've been swayed to believe that being Jewish is not too cool, not too sexy. I say nothing because I'm in a deep sleep, a snow-white coma, destined to meet my prince 5 years later in the form of stone in Jerusalem named the Wailing Wall. Our lips press, flesh to cool granite. I place folded paper with written prayers for the dead in a nook. In a nook in the wall next to a woman with concentration camp numbers tattooed on her forearm. Surrounded by fervent praying and bodies swaying, I am far more awake than I ever thought possible. I suddenly remember the exodus of the Israelites, and I walk barefoot from the wall in the desert to the bar. Bartender, tell me I don't look Jewish. Tell me I don't act Jewish, because I'm thinking, I'm saying, what does Jewish look like to you? Because I'm the Hebrew mamita, long-lost daughter of Abraham and Sarah, the sexy oy-baying, matzah-eating, chutzpah-having, non-cheaping, non-conspiracizing, always questioning, hip-hop listening, Torah scroll reading, all people loving, pride-filled Jewish girl. Bigging up all people who are a little miffed because someone tells you you don't look like or act like your people. Impossible, because you are your people. You just tell them they don't look, period.
Each generation wrestles with old questions in new ways. What does it mean to be Jewish? What does it mean to be a member of any tribe in the 21st century?
Hello.
Oh. Yay! I love the tribe. I never tire of watching it. And every time she's like, you don't look, period. I go, boom.
And it goes right on the dot. I remember that moment when I was editing and I just like, I mean, you have to understand for me rewatching it, it came out 18 years ago. It, you know, did very well 18 years ago. Premiered at Sundance, was the first documentary to be #1 on Apple. And then my favorite thing that happened back then, because I'm going to tell you what's happening now, is that the chaplain for the US Navy ordered the tribe to be played on every one of the ships, which I was like, there's nothing cooler than that. But it's so fascinating to rewatch it in light of the new Barbie film and the Oppenheimer film.
Yeah.
Which deals a lot with World War II and Jewishness. And, you know, I wrote the film with my husband, Ken, and we spent a lot of time thinking about the words and distilling really everything we've ever thought about Judaism into these 15 minutes. And it's just really exciting to rewatch and to be here with all of you. And first of all, I want to say I'm so grateful that you all are having this symposium, that you teach Holocaust education. I know we have a survivor here. It's so incredibly important. And I'm just really grateful to be here talking with you all about the film.
Thank you so much. We are thrilled and honored that you would join us. You know, I don't know how many of you know, I'm not that techie, so I'm not gonna lie. I have no idea what the Webby Awards are. But every time I've mentioned that, you know, Tiffany Shlain will be with us, and that, you know, she was the director of the Tribe, and she's the creator of the Webby Awards. When I say the Webby Awards, everybody's like, oh, the Webby Awards. I'm like, yeah, the Tribe was great. So what I would like for you to be able to do is I would like for you to tell us, as a young Jewish woman living in Hollywood, right? Or
I don't live in Hollywood.
in
I live
California.
in Northern California. Very different.
Correction, Northern California. What did it mean to you to create the Tribe? You know, because so much of it does deal with, you know, iconic imagery, and that's so much of what California, especially Southern California, represents.
It's interesting because most people do assume I live in LA because I'm a film director. But I don't. I live in Northern California, and a reason why that's important is, like, in LA there are a lot of Jews, and in New York, where I grew up, there aren't. And I went to a big public school, always big public schools. I was always the only 1 or 2 Jews in the class, and I don't look Jewish. And my last name has no C in it. It's just Shlain, Shlain, which is Ukrainian, but most people associate Jewish names with like a C, SCH, Schwartz, all those names. So no one ever knew I was Jewish. It was always a choice. And my family is very culturally Jewish. We're not religious. I grew up with 2 parents that are Jews. And I would say we believe in the questioning and the humor, all the lines in the film, but we're not religious. And so it was always a choice on whether I brought up whether I was Jewish. And I never really went out with anyone Jewish. And then I met my husband, another blonde, blue-eyed Jew named Ken. And we both really wrestled with this idea of assimilation. We both lost family members in Auschwitz. And our families are from Odessa, Ukraine, and had escaped. And, you know, we fell in love, and it was like my real first Jewish relationship. We had so much to talk about. And when we wrote this film, I knew that the creator of Barbie was Jewish. Now everybody's talking about it today with the Barbie film. 18 years ago, no one knew. And it was like a little fact that I thought was incredibly interesting as a way to explore assimilation that so many people of my generation, I'm 53, but I made the film when I was a long time ago. And, you know, my grandparents all escaped the, you know, Ukraine and the Holocaust, and they just wanted to change. They did not want to have a lot to do with that much of organized Judaism. So I don't think that's everyone's story, but I think making this film, I was really trying to speak to other Jews who feel strongly identified with being Jewish, but are constantly questioning their relationship to it. I mean, even with the news of Israel in the last day, I mean, those lines in the Tribe are still the way I feel. Just as you can be proud of America and not agree with all of its politics, you can be proud of Israel and not, or you can believe in Israel and not believe in all of its politics. But, you know, I thought today, what if the story of Israel, the experiment of Israel fails? You know, what does that mean? And so anyways, going back to the film, when you make a film, you try to make it very timely and evergreen, timely and timeless. That's always my goal. So rewatching the film is very exciting that those lines still hold up for me. And I think I'm very concerned that there isn't enough Holocaust education, and a lot of people don't know about it in the schools. And I do worry about that, and I worry about Israel, and what's happening there, and things that happened there today. And I also, I mean, I think that it's been really exciting for me how many new people are sharing it again right now. I re-released it last week, and there's like this whole new wave of people that had never seen it before. So, you know, and we're releasing it for free. We have a whole bunch of educator curriculums that I have a limited supply left, but what I'm thinking about doing for all you educators is digitizing them. And any of you on here,
You got a lot of applause like the right now.
yes. And so because we worked with this religious studies professor at Harvard, we worked with all these amazing people. We got this grant to make, it was being used in so many universities and high schools and middle schools, colleges, that we made this really robust educator's guide. So anyone watching, sign up for my newsletter, which is tiffanyshlain.com, no C in the last name, SHLAIN/newsletter. And I'm going to announce shortly when I have it digitized and available for educators. Because, you know, we used to sell these, like we have these big, do you have a discussion kit from when I first made it?
So I used to steal it, right? So I used to find, like, it used to take me like 20 minutes every time that I wanted to show it and like find like ways to like, okay, circumvent all that and just show it.
Oh my God.
For a long time.
Well, you know what? That's great. I mean, we made a whole discussion kit. Like the whole concept was their conversation cards. There's a book in it called Guide from the Perplexed instead of Guide to the Perplexed based on Maimonides. And then we have this curriculum and it kept selling out. And I have about 25 left. And the big question is, do I go and reprint a big batch or do I just offer it for free? Because the tactility of the kit was good too. But anyway, so I will make that available. So everyone should just sign up for a newsletter. And I'm working on, I have made a couple other Jewish films. I don't know if you've ever seen, did you ever see my film, The Making of a Mensch?
No, but I saw the title when I was
You would like it.
and I'm like, I should watch this.
It's a 10-minute film for educators called The Making of a Mensch. And then I'm working on a new film called The Adolescent Brain. I make a lot of films about neuroscience, which is just for anyone, no matter what religious affiliation or cultural affiliation. So, and I'm also doing art now too, but I've made quite a lot of films at this point since that film. So I've made about 30 short films and they're all about different subjects. But my Jewish ones are The Tribe. I did one called Tech Shabbats. That's 5 minutes, which is my family and I turn off all screens one day a week for the last 14 years, not for religious reasons, but really for the idea of Shabbat. And yeah. I'm like, there's so many things we could talk about. I don't know. Ask me another question.
So have you ever thought of making a film similar to the method of The Tribe with, you know, the Barbie and the paper dolls and what have you, specifically for like a Holocaust?
You know, I really like the way the Holocaust is in The Tribe.
Okay.
I mean, when I first found that list, the persecution list, I mean, I will never forget. I was working on the script and I was like, because most people know of the Holocaust and maybe they know of a pogrom, but I was like, I really want to know every period of persecution for the Jews. And that list, I started crying. I will never forget how just seeing that list in its entirety and knowing that half the Jews died, were killed. I think, and I'll tell you the facts to this day that people are still shocked by when they see the film is that we're such a small percentage of the population and that whole population went in half. But I think that the Holocaust persecution list in The Tribe, baked within the joy, the joie de vivre of Judaism, I think it's what makes it powerful. You know, I mean, I was thinking a lot about what you told me, you and our conversation about Anne Frank and the controversy about Anne Frank and the book. And I was just like, I cannot believe this is happening. I do want to say, hold on. I do want to say for anybody who doesn't know what Tiffany is referring to, in California, they do have, you know, they changed their Holocaust education to Holocaust and genocide studies, and then it became genocide studies, and then it became ethnic studies. And within ethnic studies, the curriculum specifically talks about the differences between oppressed and oppressor, and it identifies Jews as having white privilege. And Anne Frank is actually used as like the poster child for white privilege. And therefore the teaching of the novel or the diary of Anne Frank has become controversial. However, there's a graphic novel written, a rewriting of Anne Frank's diary in graphic novel form, where Anne Frank
instead of the diary being called Kitty, Kitty is her lesbian lover. And they walk through the streets of Amsterdam and are harassed by the Nazis. And that's the persecution that she is actually facing. It's not for having been Jewish. So that's the.
I mean, I think this like all makes my blood boil, but I think that fact that it's being rewritten. I mean, listen, obviously artistic interpretation, but there's this text that's so powerful, and you know, I think a lot about history and the rewriting of history. I have an art project that's going to be actually on the National Mall this fall, where I made a feminist history tree ring. So I'm doing physical art now, and I do these big tree ring timelines, which are usually very patriarchal and colonialist. And I've done a feminist history tree ring, which in a lot of ways is my way of telling a history that is not told, especially in DC. And we're half this country. Women's rights, trans rights, reproductive freedom are being taken away every day. I know this is a different subject, but I think a lot about what histories are told and what histories are not told. And so I think the issue with Anne Frank, that the original text is not being written, is not being read or taught in this area in my own state. I'm going to look into it more as well. But I think we have to be continuously fighting for the truth and for stories that are forgotten to be told. I mean, obviously Never Forget is, you know, it's used by so many different groups now too. And you wonder if it's lost its power because, you know, I do think about that too, of how do you bring up history in a way that people are going to receive it. And I think The Tribe, which on the face value, you're seeing a film about Barbie.
Yeah.
And then we go in there and we just like right in the middle of it, we're like, wake up. Like, this is a much bigger issue what we're talking about. And I do that in a lot of my films where I kind of unexpectedly will be making you laugh and and then I go in with something very serious. If you watched all my films, you would see that pattern.
Yeah.
Because I think when you laugh and humor, and I think Jews are really good at this, you open your body language, you open yourself up to an idea, an important part of history, and then you can receive it more.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about, you know, this idea of what makes us, you know, able to connect and open that door, and that sometimes we need to take the back door to get onto the stage, that it's okay to not have the limelight immediately on a topic or a subject, so that we can get that receptivity from our audience, whether it's students or not. And I think humor does do that. You know, it allows us to relax and to be able to come into a conversation that might otherwise be prejudged or shut down or what have you. So I completely agree with that.
Well, I have a question as just an educator, because Hollywood has made a lot of films about the Holocaust.
Yes, they have.
I mean, they have.
Yeah, some really good, some less.
Right, but it is a subject. I mean, if you think about, I mean, I think the reason why The Tribe broke through in a way is that the length. Most of my films, I've only made one feature, which, you know, but most of my films are short because I want it to prompt a discussion, and then I provide all these materials for discussion afterwards. So it's like this conversation starter. But I think the fact that it was 15 minutes is a way in also.
Yeah, and like I said, you know, when I introduced the film, what I loved as a classroom teacher was that I could show the full film. If I had kids who had some kind of challenge, whether it was that they weren't English speakers or they had, you know, maybe a hearing processing disorder or what have you, I had enough time in my 50-minute class to even so much as show it twice and still have time to answer questions. I often showed the film, and then I would rewind to the spoken word, that piece by Vanessa
Hitter,
yeah, and I would show that twice because the kids were like, wait, whoa, that was powerful. And so they, you know, that they would get to hear that twice to really be able to process everything she was saying. And then we would have a Q&A. I would like to open up Q&A to the people that we have, and see, what they, what questions they have for you. So if you have a question for Tiffany, just raise your hand. Okay, so I may have to repeat, so I don't know if you'll be able to hear everybody.
Okay, no problem.
Go ahead, Sammy, what's your question?
Tiffany, this is a personal question.
Okay, Tiffany, this is a personal question. Does Sammy, our Holocaust survivor,
Do you know Adam Swig?
do you know Adam Swig?
I love Adam Swig, and his grandmother, Sissy Swig, was a big supporter of the tribe. And in fact, I went to her house for tea. She had seen one of my other films, and I said, I want to make a film that explores American Jewish identity through the history of the Barbie doll. And without missing a beat, his grandmother, who's an amazing leader here in San Francisco, was like, I'm in. And she was my first funder on that movie. So I love Adam. And I believe Adam did tell me he knows you and that he loves you. I saw him at the Jewish Film Festival last week, and we were talking about you. So yes, I am sorry I can't see you right now, but
I know.
An honorary nephew.
He says
an
he's
honorary nephew.
Yeah,
Oh my God. I love that. I think I'm kind of an honorary. They're like mishpacha to me, that whole family. So yeah. So that means you and I are related.
He told me he has a picture, and I did not know if the picture is with him or with me.
That's so great. Yeah, they're such a wonderful family.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bernie. Nice to meet you. Great work. As a fellow producer, I think it's an amazing production that you did. And it's timeless, so it's relevant today. I mean, you can show it today. My question is, what kind of reactions did you get from other producers in the industry overall? What kind of consensus did you get?
It was, the film, I was expecting some kind of, I don't know what I was expecting. Oh, actually, I remember one big Hollywood producer. This is before I wrote the film. I'm like, I'm going to tell the whole Jewish story in 15 minutes through the Barbie doll. And he's like, impossible. And I was like, I can't wait to prove you wrong. And like, when I was like a young whippersnapper, and he was like a big macher in Hollywood. But the film, it has done very well. And so I think, other filmmakers, my filmmaking style is very unusual, as you can see. And it actually came from the fact is I really couldn't afford to go to film school. I went to UC Berkeley, amazing school, but they had no film production there. I studied filmmaking in a summer program my junior year at NYU, and came back to Berkeley and mostly would practice making movies and this was back in the day of film footage, like celluloid. I would edit together old movies, and that's how I learned how to tell stories with like an old editing and from the anthropology department in city planning, and old animation footage and old movies. And I think I'm so grateful I couldn't go to film school, because when people see my filmmaking style, which is in all my movies, it's very collagey, and it was out of necessity. So I think a lot of filmmakers are like, how did you start making films that way? And it was like literally out of a creative constraint came this style, which I love and I feel grateful for. So I'm a big believer that, any constraint is good creatively.
Yeah, I mean, I think from a student perspective, I think it works really well, because they like that, kind of
speed. Yeah.
Yes.
And the
they
collage.
like it. Yeah. They do.
And also Vanessa Hidary, I can also tell you that she's amazing. I was working on the script with my husband, Ken, and we saw her perform this slam poetry at an event, and her poem is called The Hebrew Mamita. Yeah. And in her spoken word, she was dealing with so many of the same issues we were, that's when I wanted to have her in the movie. And it was actually, this is a filmmaking thing, it was actually in my editing, and actually I was just rewinding the movie as I was working on it, as you often do. In the olden days, it was like a very different process, because you would really press a button to like rewind things. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to take the whole movie in reverse. And it's just during her poem, it gives me chills all the time, because so that's like kind of a little filmmaking inside baseball story.
I loved that you included Vanessa's piece, because it helps us to, as educators, to share with students the idea that, we are a tribe, Jews are a tribe,
Mm.
but within that tribe, you have Ashkenaz, you have Sephardic, you have Mizrahi, like we have multiple different ways of being. And
Yeah.
we often, especially in Holocaust studies, ignore that because the Holocaust took place in Eastern Europe, therefore it's an Ashkenaz thing. And so we often ignore the voice of the Sephardic or the Mizrahi Jew, and Vanessa bringing in this idea that Hebrew mamita, it's like, no, there's more than one way to be Jewish, and there's more than one way to look Jewish. There's more than one way to sound Jewish. And it really, brought that, beyond the Barbie, to life. And I get a lot of questions and conversations about that when I show that in class.
I love that.
So, yeah.
Well, I think since we made the movie, there's been a much more of a leaning into your identity. Like back 18 years ago, that was not really talked about. And it's been this incredible renaissance to see everybody lean into who they are, which is exciting. Like, this is who I am, it's my identity, and kind of own it. And then, since we did the movie, now there's so many like websites that are kind of Jewish pride, hip, funny, I love that, all of that. And that really didn't happen either. So it's been exciting to see the kind of renaissance. And, I started this project, I was in the first class of Reboot. I don't know if you all know what Reboot is, but it is basically Steven Spielberg and the Bronfman Foundation brought together 40 young creative Jewish people that were not affiliated with their Jewishness and sent us to Utah for the weekend. And we all exploded in conversation. And that's the weekend I found out Ruth Handler died, and they buried the fact that she was Jewish. And that was when I was like, oh my gosh, this would be such a great movie to explore Jewish identity and assimilation and the Holocaust and like all of these things we grapple with. And that's my being a blonde, blue-eyed Jew named Tiffany, because I always pass. I mean, I really do. My whole life, not now because I've done Jewish projects, but up until I was like 30, it was just, people said whatever in front of me because they didn't know.
Yeah.
And I definitely experienced anti-Semitism in high school. Not so much in college. It was much more diverse at UC Berkeley, but in my very white WASP high school, I would say, I heard a lot of disparaging things. So I think it's been really interesting, this kind of renaissance of leaning into who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's awesome. Any other questions? Yes.
My question is, if you had to, where do you think sort of the divide between secular and religious Jews is going today, as opposed to when you made your movie? Or to put it in a different way, if you had to remake your movie, how would you depict the way more religious Jews view secular Jews and vice versa?
I couldn't hear all of that.
Okay, so he's asking, if you were to remake your movie today, how would the depiction between the secular Jew and a religious Jew vary from when you made the film 18 years ago, and the relationship between them and whatnot?
It still feels like the way that I mean, my daughter is my daughter Odessa is a college student who's doing an internship in Tel Aviv right now. And super intense to be there right now, but like, she can't find a Shabbat service to go to that they'll accept, she's in Tel Aviv. And there's either the super religious, they're so secular. It's either like the super religious who wouldn't have a young woman be really participatory. I mean, she's used to our household where obviously, anyways, and it's really, she wrote this essay about just the ultra religious, which are really destroying the country too. And I guess I mean, listen, I have friends that are very religious here in the United States, and I have respect for their beliefs, and we can coexist. I really I'm a strong feminist, so I do not love all the patriarchal language, and that's always been my issue. Even when I go to services, which I do, I change the words in my head. And I practice Shabbat. As my friend who's a rabbi says, you're the most religious, unreligious person I know, because we keep Shabbat at my house. But I am not religious. with pride I say that, because I love a lot of Jewish ideas. I love the moral framework. I love the questioning. I love the humor, but I do not believe in God. And I am fine with that. And my husband has convinced me to say I'm agnostic because he says he's agnostic. She's like, just in case. But for a long time, I would say I was an atheist, but very spiritual atheist. So I've thought a lot about the issue. I'm 1,000,000% Jewish. I am not religious. And I chafe against the way women are treated within it, and the way we are continuing, even the stories, which I love the storytelling of Judaism and the rituals, but mostly they're stories of men. And I think the more you retell those stories, the more it's self-propagating. And so at our Haggadah, we will eventually publish this. It's like every woman in the Passover story that I could find, I expand, and it's suddenly a very different story.
It's a Barbie Haggadah.
Barbagata.
I'll buy that. That's awesome. Do we have any other questions? No. Arthur, do you have any questions for Tiffany? Arthur's joining us virtually.
Yes, I'm wondering if she knows whether Gentile children versus Jewish children have the same recognition of Barbie. Is there a divide by religious background?
I don't think so. I think most young people are pretty fascinated with Barbie. A lot of feminists hated Barbie, but I think young kids in general are always very attracted to her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anything else? No more questions. Wow. Okay.
Excellent.
I think I'm here. My one last question is, I'm curious, in your re-release of The Tribe, obviously it was made 18 years ago. So some of the statistics of Barbie sales versus.
I was thinking that needed to be updated.
I'm like, are you gonna, in your re-release, are you gonna update that?
No.
Or even the number of maybe a Jewish population in the world?
Yeah, I was thinking about that too as I was rewatching it. I'm like, what's the number now? No, because I think there is something beautiful in it just being as it was 18 years ago. Yeah, it's interesting. No, I'm not. There was a point where I was going to do, back when there were DVDs, I was going to do like a 10-year anniversary issue. So it was a while ago, 8 years. And it's just, I'm making so many other films. It's hard. Like, I even felt like I re-released The Tribe a little too late. Like, so many people have been writing to me in the last 2 months, like, The Tribe, all this talk about Barbie, you did this 18 years ago. And I only re-released it like 4 days before the movie came out. And I was like, I should have done more, but I'm on to so many other projects right now too. I mean, I love that it's used, and I'm getting a lot of requests to show it again and press interviews around it, but I'm working on this feminist history treeing on the National Mall, and then this new film on the adolescent brain. And any of you watching can stay posted on all of I do re-release films. I mean, I've made a lot at this point. So a couple times a year, I'll re-release a film that's pertinent to something we're talking about today. So if you just sign up for my newsletter, I have a monthly newsletter called Breakfast at Tiffany's that you get that. Is that how we reconnected?
No, I found you on Twitter.
Oh, okay. But you get the newsletter now, because
I do get the newsletter.
That's the way I announce re-releases and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we have one more question from Sammy.
Okay,
go ahead,
sure.
Sammy.
Tiffany.
Yeah.
This is Sammy Stipe. And I just text to Adam, and he told, yes, she's amazing. I told her to hug you.
Wait, so you texted Adam? I didn't hear the whole.
Yeah, he texted Adam, and Adam said, yes, you're amazing, and to give you a hug. So Sammy's sending you a virtual hug.
Oh, I love that. I wish Adam was here. He's doing such important work. You should all check him out. Adam Swig, Value Culture. He was just in Krakow, doing an event related to the Holocaust and Jewish culture. So he does amazing work too.
Awesome. Wonderful.
So you probably know, okay, that with Adam, I was on Clubhouse
And
I heard that.
For 16 hours straight.
Can you imagine 16 hours straight? I could not imagine doing that.
Hey, I want to meet you. We're gonna get can you make sure we get introduced over?
I could, yes, I'll make
Okay.
sure that you get Sammy's information. so you
Sammy,
guys-
we're gonna connect. Where do you live?
He lives in New York.
Okay, I'm in New York a lot. I'd love to meet you.
There you go. You're gonna have a lunch date with Tiffany.
Breakfast at
Breakfast.
Tiffany's.
You have breakfast.
Okay. Great talking to you all. And I'm gonna plan to share this recording
Yeah.
to my newsletter because I think
Awesome. Yes, yes. And I'm recording this and I'm going to send it to you so you can put it
Great.
on your website as well. Thank you so much, Tiffany. It's
oh,
been
this was a pleasure.
amazing. Thank you.
Bye everyone.
Bye.